in the east end, pushing off into parts of Oldham and Shelby County. Also right now, Buckner around 1220 and at Chestnut Grove just before 1225. Let's broaden this out a little bit. Yeah, thanks, Christina. And we'll put a larger track on this along this entire line. It's moving really fast, about 65 miles per hour, so highway speeds, which is a good thing because it means it'll be in and out of here really quickly. And it also means that it will reduce the risk of flooding because it's moving so long and it doesn't have a long residence time over your community. So Scottsburg at 12:18 in the next few minutes, Shelbyville in the next 10 minutes, around 11:30 for Hanover, which is going to be a little bit further to our south, I believe. Madison at 12:36 and Frankfort, actually Hanover's in Indiana, and 12:42 there for Frankfort. So moving fairly quickly, but again, those wind speeds have been estimated at around 70 to 80 miles per hour potentially at times. Here's a radar loop of the last hour. You can see how quickly it's moving, and it's this main line right there where we see those deep shades of red and all of that lightning too that's causing our problems at the moment as it continues to push off to the east there at about 65 miles per hour. Christina, let's zoom in here closer to the east end around the east end area, parts of Oldham and Shelby County as well, and then we'll put on our radar wind speeds and we'll do some analysis to get an idea of how strong some of these winds could potentially be. One thing to keep in mind with these wind speeds is that they are radar estimated, so it's not necessarily the wind speed that's actually being observed at the ground. It's being depicted by radar, calculated by radar several hundred feet above the ground. But around Anchorage, a wind speed of about 60 miles per hour. That is severe, rather severe thunderstorm warning threshold. Near Taylorsville, about a 70 mile per hour gust. Let's pan up to the north a little bit more, where it looks like we might have some stronger thunderstorms, stronger wind speeds up there near Goshen, Prospect, Sellersburg, and at Charlestown. Also seeing some of those wind speeds potentially of around 60 miles per hour, 67 mile per hour wind gusts there in parts of Clark County, and around 65 miles per hour just to the north of Jeffersonville as well.
Alden, kind of a testament to just how strong these winds are. We are seeing plenty of reports in, say, places like PRP, reports of several trees down there from the emergency manager, and that's just one of several reports we've been seeing of, well, not only the trees down, but we've had reports of power lines down in the E-Town and Fort Knox area. So that likely is just a testament to just how strong these winds are that we're depicting on the radar here, Alden.
And they're not moving, or rather these storms might be moving fairly quickly, but they can do a lot of damage in a quick amount of time. So it really does not take a lot. And because power lines have been going down in a few spots as well, good idea to go ahead and get your phone charged and have your other devices charged as well, so you have a way to potentially watch us if you need to take shelter. But right now, nothing is looking tornadic. That's the good news. That's the best news, really. But we are still watching for straight line winds, which can be just as damaging. This is along one of those stronger portions here. Christina just put another track on Rolling Hills. It's on top of you right now. You'll see it in New Washington in the next few minutes. Bethlehem about 12:30, 12:30 in Paineville, and moving into Bedford, Kentucky there at 12:35. So Memphis, Sellersburg, seeing some very heavy rainfall at the moment. You can also make out some of those lightning strikes that are falling too. These are some pretty electric storms, so it would not be surprising if you heard some very loud thunder out of this activity as it's pushing over your head. But these deep shades of red are indicating where we have some of that very heavy rainfall. Let's take off that track for a moment, Christina, and put this into motion just so we can see how quickly it's moving. So New Washington, this is your heads up as it's pushing to the northeast here, almost right there along State Road 62. Charlestown, you're experiencing some torrential rain at the moment as well. Christina, did you have something?
Yeah, and so that part of this thunderstorm, so we're talking to folks there in southern Indiana. Now that warning is for 75 mile per hour wind gusts, which obviously could do a lot of damage, and it's moving as highway speeds at 60 miles per hour on up to the northeast.
All right, so 60 miles per hour speed is how fast the storm is moving. Wind speeds produced by this storm up to potentially 75 miles per hour. So that is enough to take down some weaker tree branches, maybe down some smaller trees. Any power poles that might be a little on the weak side as well could potentially get blown over. So that's why I was telling you to go ahead and get your devices charged in the event that you do happen to lose power. So it's already starting to exit the Louisville metro area. We only have another 10 minutes on this warning. morning. These are relatively short lead times because of how quickly they are moving, so we'll stay on the air here for about another 5 or 10 minutes until the worst of it pushes out of our area. In fact, as we look down to our south in Washington County, where you're experiencing a lot of torrential rain at the moment and some of those gusty winds, already seeing this activity starting to push out or about to exit Washington County. So Springfield, Lebanon there in Marion County, you're seeing some of that torrential downpours, Willisburg as well. It's right there on the leading edge, and that leading edge is where we're going to see most of those strong wind gusts. So if I had to point out the two areas where I think we have the strongest storms at the moment, I would say Oldham County and likely there in Washington County as well. A lot of lightning strikes, over 900 strikes there within this red box here. So these are very electrically charged storms as they continue to very quickly move off to the east. Christina, actually, no, let's talk about this instead. We do have that tornado watch actually along and south of I-64 until 4 o'clock this afternoon. And we could potentially see that extended a little bit as well as we'll be tracking a secondary line of storms that'll be moving in a little bit later. I'll show you that here in a moment. What's not on this map, but is also in effect, is a flood watch until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning because of how heavy some of this rain could be. Some of us have seen a lot of rain, such as Adair County, Columbia. You've had over 4 inches of rain so far this week, so you don't need any more rain. So it would not take a lot of rain for there to cause any flood problems. I have seen some photos earlier in other locations where there were some flooding over roadways. Here's a look at Futurecast now. It's doing a somewhat okay job of depicting how strong that current line is, but what I want to show you here with this is as we move deeper into the early afternoon hours, we'll see this main line get out of here. We could have some lingering thunderstorms south of the Western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkways, but those are not as likely to be severe. As we continue to advance here into the mid-afternoon hours, a lot of this rain could be close to done. So if you want to get outside and do something for your Memorial Day weekend, you should be able to. But what we're also going to be paying attention to is how quickly we might clear. If we see any clearing while the sun is still high in the sky, that's not really a good thing because it means the atmosphere will have a chance to recharge, resupply itself with fuel for these storms to for these storms to use later. We're paused now at 7 o'clock. A couple other new showers and storms will be developing potentially along I-64 to the west, but what we'll really be watching is this area back here in eastern Illinois as it pushes into western Indiana heading into this evening. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning. We'll check that out here in a moment. I want to first go through the rest of Futurecast. By 9 o'clock, we'll be watching this potentially very strong line of thunderstorms to continue pushing eastward. And as it does, that's the round that actually could give us more problems than what we're currently experiencing. So it's this late evening line after sunset that we'll be paying far closer attention to for that risk of damaging winds, potentially some spin-up tornadoes, hail, and we'll still have that concern for some localized flooding. The good news is that a lot of this, the timing of it has been increased a bit as we have looked at the new model runs this morning. So I think we'll see a lot of this rain push out of here by around midnight to 1 a.m. So hopefully we'll still be able to get some decent sleep later tonight. We're switching back over to Max HD radar. We just have some steady rain falling now over the metro area. Nothing that is severe. Winds probably are not as gusty. Oldham County, though, seeing some of that very heavy rainfall. And that new severe thunderstorm warning includes Frankfort, also areas off to the east along I-75, Lexington, down towards Richmond, Kentucky. Let's zoom in here on Oldham County really quick because that's where we have one of the stronger thunderstorms. And that's probably also where we see some of those wind gusts up to about 75 miles per hour. So if you live in LaGrange, you're probably about to experience some of the leading edge of that heavy rain. And it's a pretty sharp divide there on that rain as well. So when that rain starts, it's going to start. And it's going to start pretty quickly and come down like a bucket too, most likely. So LaGrange, it's on your doorstep right now. Terraskin about 12:30, Smithfield about 12:30, Eminence just after 12:30, and around Newcastle there at 12:35. Christina, how long is that new severe thunderstorm warning go until?
That severe thunderstorm warning actually is going to go until 1:15 this afternoon, so still have about 45 to 50 minutes until that actually expires, but it is still moving and maintaining that really fast speed of 60 miles per hour and most likely containing 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts with it.
And not much in the way of hail reports either, I take it?
I have not seen any reports for hail, so of course we'll take the small winds that we can, but I am seeing actually some damage pictures that were just sent in by the Grayson County Emergency Management of a semi, or not a semi, I should say a trailer that's been completely flipped over as those storms passed by Grayson County just over an hour ago or so. This was in the Litchfield area. We'll try to get those pictures on air and online as soon as we can.
All right, that's good information to know too, especially if with those high-profile vehicles, particularly if they're light. A 75-mile-per-hour gust is going to very easily flip that over, so something to keep in mind out there. And we've already have seen some of those power lines that have been blown down as well.
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind here, Alden. Power lines down in Jeffersonville and the Clarksville area as well. Getting reports of trees down across the county, and again, that's from the Clark County Emergency Manager.
All right, so we are starting to technically see some new damage reports coming in from around the metro area of some of those strong wind gusts. And we have a new severe thunderstorm warning as well that's just been issued. This does include Shelby County. Spencer County is included in this as well. That's Henry County, excuse me, but Shelby County is also in that warning. That is until what time?
That's
Probably
now
1:15?
going until 1:30.
Okay, 1:30. So we have an hour on that. I don't suspect it'll take an hour for it to actually make its way out there. But Henryville, Scottsburg, still seeing some very heavy rain, a lot of lightning with this. Let's get in a little bit closer. We'll put that track on first, and then we'll do some wind speed analysis. So Eminence, it's on top of you pretty much right now. There's always a little bit of a delay. So if it's within about 3 minutes, you can probably anticipate that rain actually already being in your neck of the woods. Pleasureville around 12:30 here, so in the next 5 minutes. Newcastle within the next 10 minutes. Looks like they put out another severe thunderstorm warning, so they're really giving you folks a lot of lead time. If you're Trimble in Carroll County, Bedford, Carrollton, you're getting some good lead time on this. Jefferson County, Indiana, also getting some good lead time on this. So this is your warning, or if you know somebody that's outside, to go ahead and get indoors, because those storms are going to be in your neck of the woods here very quickly. As we get in a bit closer here and we're doing some wind speed analysis now, noticing those radar indicated wind speeds of around 65 to 70 miles per hour. And as a reminder, this is not necessarily making it to the ground, but seeing as we've had reports of trees down, some power lines down, tractor trailers that have been flipped over from the wind speeds, it is probably a safe bet to assume that these winds are largely making it to the surface at the moment. Fairly uniform wind speeds as well as we look down to our south again, also topping out near that 70-mile-per-hour mark. Christina's keeping an eye on the chat, and if she has any other damage reports, she'll pass those along to us fairly quickly as well. In fact, Christina, I'll just ask you, do you have anything new?
Nothing new as of the last reports, Alden, but unfortunately I would not be surprised for them to come flooding in here in the next couple of minutes as those storms are leaving very densely populated areas, obviously just pushed through all of Jefferson County.
And if you have some storm photos yourself that you'd like to send us, maybe of some damage that you have experienced, stay safe and don't put yourself in harm's way to take a photo for us. But you can also text those to us at 502-582-7290. We love getting those storm photos. It gives us some ground truth so we know what exactly is happening out there, because after all, we're stuck inside here in the studio. We can't see what's happening in your neighborhood. And we can also pass those reports along to the National Weather Service, which does them a lot of good as well. Here's our radar wind speed. This is technically just outside of our viewing area of around 75 miles per hour. So still giving you that idea of how strong a lot of these storms are. And let's pull out here and show a really broad view of how large these severe thunderstorm warnings are. But already what we're noticing, especially down there to our south in Washington and Marion counties, starting to push out of our viewing area, which is a good thing. And as I said before, these are moving at highway speeds of around 60 to 65 miles per hour. That's why you have such a large lead time along I-71, in particular towards Newcastle, up towards Carrollton as well. So Carrollton, expect this there in about the next 15 minutes. Drennan Springs at 12:42, Milton at about 12:40. So here in about 10 minutes there, and in Newcastle within the next 5 minutes. Let's put this into motion really quickly, and we'll just get an idea of how quickly these have been moving, and this can actually really show you how fast that these storms have been moving. The energy east of I-65 is not quite as great, so what we're hopefully going to be seeing here is a little bit of a weakening trend as these storms continue to move out of the area. And in Washington County, already within the last 5 minutes, we're starting to see that area of very heavy rain and lightning begin to push out of your region. And in fact, they just dropped that severe thunderstorm warning as it was set to expire already for Metro Louisville, for Oldham County, Clark County, Floyd County, most of Shelby County as well. But if you're in Henry, Bedford, or in Carroll County, you still have that severe thunderstorm warning until roughly 1:30 p.m. This also includes Madison up there in Jefferson County, Kentucky, Frankfort as well. Don't want to forget about you guys in Franklin County. That's moving into your neighborhood here within about the next 10 to 15 minutes. And again, what we're noticing with this are these wind speeds of 70 miles per hour potentially, making it down to the surface. That can cause some damage to trees, weak trees in particular. Ground is super saturated. We could also possibly see some localized areas of flooding, but since these are moving so quickly, the residence time, so how long they're staying over your neighborhood, is not very long, so that's working against that potential for flooding, which is good. So here's Eminence, here's Newcastle, here's LaGrange, where it's raining very heavily on top of you right now. And what I also think we probably have noticed a little bit here is that width of this band of rain has shrunk a little bit, which to me says that it's moving into a less favorable environment. Still fairly strong, could still see some pretty strong winds with this, but it's not quite as widespread as it was before. It is a fairly narrow band there, as you can see. Christina's pulling up our visible satellite, and this is important too because this is what we're looking back to our west, is some clearing. A very sharp cutoff there with the clouds. And as that pushes into our area potentially, that would mean sunshine. And we don't necessarily want sunshine on a day like this because that gives the atmosphere a chance to recharge. It could resupply itself with the fuel that would help thunderstorms that could redevelop later on this evening. So St. Louis is about a 4-hour drive if you're going roughly highway speeds there west on I-64 or I-70 towards St. Louis. And that back edge, as I said, is fairly sharp cutoff there. So seeing some of that new storm fuel already resupplying in parts of Missouri, we'll just have to wait and see if it can make it into our area. Christina, down there as well, I believe we have our rainfall maps. I'm curious to see if we've had much in the way of rainfall totals so far today. This would be since midnight. We're going to start in here on the metro, get an idea of how much rain could have fallen with that. And really not too much. Piccadilly about 3/4 of an inch there, about 1/4 of an inch at Klondike Elementary School. A.B. Sawyer Park, technically not reporting anything. You probably did pick up a little bit up towards Jeffersonville, around 1/4 of an inch. So that's the good news. Even though it is raining very heavily, it's moving so quickly, we're not picking up much in the way of accumulation. Some of these numbers have not quite updated yet, but since midnight, only 1/2 inch reported officially in Hardinsburg, 1/2 inch there in Litchfield, about 4/10 of an inch in Munfordville. But we've had some much higher amounts back to our west in western Kentucky, where potentially 1 to 2 inches or more of rainfall has occurred. Our risk level for today is level 3 out of 5 for our entire WHAS 11 viewing area. Damaging winds are going to be our primary concern, and that's already what we have seen so far today. We could get some hail later tonight too, but so far the hail has been very small, less than the size of a quarter, which is not going to cause any damage. We could see some tornadic activity later this evening also, but so far today, at least in our area, we have not had anything that's been tornadic, and as I've also been repeating, some localized flooding could be a concern as well, especially given how saturated the ground is in some locations, and we really don't need any more rain at the moment. Looking out to the west now from our Bachman Auto Group camera on top of the Galt House Hotel, right there is Gazebo Fest. Thankfully, nothing was occurring right now, but they're going to have to keep a close eye on things later tonight, and they said that they will be watching the weather very closely for lightning or any other severe weather, and probably have an evacuation plan or severe weather plan ready in place in case they do need to get those concert goers out of here. But you can see off there on the distance, really not too much. That's the back edge of some of that very heavy rain. Just some steady rainfall around the metro area at the moment. Maybe still some occasionally gusty winds, but those certainly are not going to be on the order of 70 to 75 miles per hour. Let's pull out here and we'll do a couple other tracks Really quickly, Scottsburg, don't want to forget about you folks. You're seeing some pretty heavy rain there at the moment. Already seeing that rain beginning to exit the LaGrange area, making its way into Newcastle. We'll stay on the air here for a couple of more minutes just to give you some extra lead time on this. And then we'll return you back to our regular programming. Hanover around 11:38 Eastern Time. Not sure why that's saying, actually 12:38 Eastern Time. Not sure why that says Central Time. Bedford at 12:38, so within 5 minutes. Carrollton at 12:49 and Craig around 12:53. As well. Already seeing that heavy rain exit the Bedford area. It's making its way into Frankfort. And as I said, it's a fairly narrow band of rainfall. So it's not very wide, which means you're just going to have a very brief period of some of that torrential rain. Frankfort at 12:37. So pretty much right now it's on top of Frankfort. Bonaire Hills a few minutes after that. Elsnore around 12:40. Peaksmill at 12:43 and Elmville at 12:45. And then we're going to notice this activity begin to push out of our viewing area. Scottsburg, you're seeing some of that very heavy rain right now and quite a bit of lightning. And let's just do a quick lightning count on this, Christina, to see how much lightning strikes have occurred within the last 30 minutes, because these are some very electrically charged storms. Just under 1,000, 952 to be exact. And looking back here to our west, we see some more showers and storms. None of those are severe at the moment. The atmosphere has been pretty worked over there, and we'll see that continue to make its way to the east. So you'll probably see some more rain here momentarily as well. If you live in Grayson County, Breckenridge County, parts of Perry County as well. There are some flash flood warnings in southern Missouri. That's going to be a concern for us later this evening. So just a couple of different waves of storms moving through, but it's later tonight after sunset that we'll be paying closer attention to for the possibility of some of those strong to severe thunderstorms. Really quickly, Christina, do you have any other storm reports or photos?
So the Taylor County, Kentucky emergency manager had reported trees and power lines down in a couple places in Campbellsville. Logan County emergency manager has said several roadways blocked, trees on houses and flooding in areas, power lines down all over the county. And that seems to be kind of the popular report, unfortunately, that we're having coming in across really all of Kentucky, as this has been ongoing since about 10 o'clock this morning. So it does appear that damaging wind is certainly shaping up to be the #1 threat with these storms. But thankfully, as Alden's been saying, they are racing out of here. So we're getting round 1 in and out of here. Here should completely exit the WHAS 11 viewing area in the next hour or so. And then we can breathe easy for at least a couple of hours until we get round #2 arriving later on this evening. Alden, if we want to walk them through Futurecast one more time, because I don't think we're going to be out of the woods after we get this first round done when it comes to the severe weather threat completely being out of here, because we do have round #2 that's going to be arriving between about 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock this evening. So as we
and Christina, I'm actually looking at some of the power outages. Around 31,000 people without power in Jefferson County, about 4,000 in Bullitt County, and roughly 2,000 there in Oldham County, and across the entire LG&E service area, just under 56,000 people potentially without power right now. So giving you a scope, giving you an idea of how large this the scope is of some of these power outages. And that's also why, again, we are encouraging you to go ahead and charge your phone in case you do lose power. And if you do need to watch us, you'll have a way to get those alerts to your cell phone and a way to track us too. So we'll go through Futurecast one more time. We'll take one more look at radar, then we'll get back to our regular programming. This is at 7 o'clock this evening. We'll be watching for a secondary line of storms to be pushing into the area as we continue forward here into the 8 to 9 o'clock time frame. That's when we see this line potentially really growing stronger, and it's going to be right there along that leading edge where we could see some of the strongest wind speeds late tonight. By 10 to 11 o'clock, we'll see that line, the second line or the third line, depending, push through I-65. Again, it'll be to our counties such as Spencer, Shelby, Taylorsville, Shelbyville there around 11 o'clock. And by 12 to 1 o'clock, that line will be pushing out of here, and then we'll have much quieter weather later on tonight. So I don't expect this line to really extend much beyond midnight to 1 o'clock. We're looking at radar one more time here. Again, a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in place until 1:15 to 1:30, pushing through Newcastle at the moment. Some heavy rain there, strong winds moving through Jefferson County, Indiana currently, and Newcastle, you're seeing some of that heavy rain pushing into Frankfort right now too. Let's get in a little bit closer here to the Newcastle and Frankfort area. Let's click off that lightning too, just to clear up things just a little bit. Eminence, you're seeing some very heavy rain. Newcastle, it's done in LaGrange, moving into Bedford, out of New Washington. And Christina's putting another track on this, fairly short track as it's about to exit our viewing area. Delville now. So this is showing you that we do have a little bit of a delay there. So it's probably on top of Delville at the moment. Worthville here in next 5 minutes as well. Monterey technically outside of our viewing area, but if you do pick us up there around 12:45, main threats are going to continue to be 70 to 75 mile per hour wind gusts. We have had several reports of power outages across the area as well. Pushing into Hanover soon, Madison soon as well. DuPont will also see some of this heavy rain. Caruthersville seeing some of that heavy rain, and it's about to exit the Scottsburg area at the moment as well. And down to our south already has exited our region. Nothing is tornadic at the moment, but we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this, and we will break back into programming later on if we need to. In the meantime, we're going to return you back to regularly scheduled programming. Thanks for watching.
I'm going to send these to digital.